All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rechach Badash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops at Great Millstone. I'm your brother, Rabbi Knapp, coming out with a lesson. Lord's will, this is edifying to the Lord's elect. Found this online. This is Steph Diggs, Patriot wide receiver, denies strangulation and assault allegations. I got to look into this real quick.
Tonight, Patriot star Stefon Diggs is categorically denying accusations that he attacked him.
Hold on, Isaiah 40 and 31. Let me look that up. You know, it's good to do videos, you know, when you can. Because these dudes, you can get the word out by doing videos on these dudes. These dudes, he's smacking up a chick. Supposedly, it's all allegations or whatever, but we're gonna make it a lesson. Isaiah 40 verse 31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. So, what does that mean? Ultimately, this is talking about the elect. He gonna renew their strength. Okay, they shall mount up with wings as eagles, meaning he's gonna give his elect men the ability to fly. They shall run and not be weary. Okay, they're going to be able to, it's hard to run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. So the Lord's going to give them power. Okay, when we get those spiritual bodies, we're going to be able to do things that are out of this world. Okay, but let's look this up. These are some deep precepts to be having on your nose during a game. You know, but what's best about these precepts is if you actually have the proper understanding of these scriptures, because some people, you know, when you have, this is a deep precept, so I'm sure Steph Diggs is, he probably already know the truth. I mean, how old is he? I think he's an older gentleman. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. The Lord's name is Yahweh when it's all caps, and it means he is. That's the Most High God, shall renew their strength. So they that wait upon the Lord, okay? So waiting on the Lord requires patience. It requires suffering. You got to suffer the afflictions that he's putting upon you. They that wait upon the Lord wait to hope, trust, look expectantly. This is not passive waiting, but patient obedience and faith, continuing in the Lord's ways despite oppression. So that's hard to do. But he tells you that in Zephaniah, that, let's get it, Zephaniah 3 and 8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So the Lord is... We're waiting upon the Lord for him to rise up against the prey. The prey ultimately is these heathen nations, okay, that are coming up against the children of Israel, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, they're up high and you're down low, and the Lord's going to reverse that. The Lord's putting you through this affliction in order to, first of all, because we broke his laws. He only made a covenant with the nation of Israel. So we're paying for our sins that we've done, because we the ones who were given the laws. When you read Amos 3, 1 and 2, it tells you, you only have I known. Therefore, I'll punish you for all of your sins, roughly paraphrasing. Okay, so we're a prey underneath the heathen, but the heathen are a prey to the Lord. For my determination is to gather the nations, and these are the heathen nations that have military capability. The nation of Israel, and what I mean by the nation of Israel is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We don't have a military, you know, or that come defend us, and some of us do. You know, Cubans they got a military, you know, so it's not. But as a whole, we don't have we're not, first of all, we're not under the banner of being Israel. Okay. Secondly, these militaries they're pretty much, they don't have nothing. They're dependent on the other powers that are above them. If any of the Israelite nations have a military, is weak, and ultimately you're not going to be saved by your strength. The Lord's going to be saving His elect through their sufferings. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can grab this precept real quick. No man shall win by his own strength, something like that. No man shall. No. It might be in the Apocrypha. What does it say? 1 Samuel 2:9. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in the darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. That's good enough. So, for by strength shall no man prevail. Okay, so you're not, just because you have military capability, that's not what's going to have you prevail. Because ultimately, you're probably going to be joining the military that's going to fight up against the Lord. There ain't going to be no military. You don't want to be a part of any military when it comes to the heathen nations that are going to be going to the Valley of Jehoshaphat. But some of you other nations are going to volunteer to go, just like North Korea. North Korea ain't got nothing to do with Russia and Ukraine, but they're volunteering their men to go over there to show their allegiance or alliance with Russia. So, you know, maybe you might have to do that when it's World War III. You're going to have to choose a side. There's no playing the fence. Just like there's no playing the fence when it comes to serving the Lord. You know, you gotta count the cost. Okay. So his determination is that he's going to assemble the kingdoms, which are these heathen nations, to pour upon them my indignation, which is righteous anger, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So what we're seeing is a mustering of these different nations coming together. They're going to meet up in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is in the Middle East, and they're all going to fight and get put to death because the Lord's going to meet them over there. They're going to be fighting each other, then they're going to turn and start fighting the Lord, according to the Bible, you know, once you have understanding. And then the kingdom of Israel is going to be established after the fall of these enemies. So that's the point that we're at right now. Okay. But before I go off, I just want to grab Isaiah 40:31. Shall renew their strength. Let me see if there's any more precepts. This is not passive waiting, but patient obedience and faith, continuing in the Lord's ways despite oppression. So how do you continue in the Lord's ways? You got to learn the Lord's ways. And then once you learn the Lord's ways, you practice the Lord's ways. Because we're not going to be perfect, but we're going to do just that. We're going to practice. That's what we're doing. We practice in the righteous acts. You know, once we've found the Lord, you know, through his word, we're going to continue to follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. Judges 5:11, they that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord Yahweh, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gate. So in the archers, talking about they that are delivered from the noise of the archers. So the thermonuclear destruction, which is coming here to America, this is what this is referring to. In the places of drawing water, which it represents slavery. You can go in the book of Joshua, I believe the 9th chapter, that goes into hewers of wood and drawers of water. When Joshua turned those Hamites into slaves, he made an oath with them. I think this Joshua 9. We just jumped there. Yeah, the Gibeonites, Joshua 9 and 22. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, Wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, We are very far from you, when ye dwell among us? So they beguiled Joshua, made a covenant with him by acting like they came from a far land and they weren't from pretty much next door, because they were Joshua was ordered to destroy the people of that land. So they acted like they were coming from a distant land, so they weren't the people that Joshua was supposed to just eradicate. So he made a covenant with them, and once he found out that they were liars, he ended up turning them into slaves. Now, therefore, ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be freed from being bondmen and hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. So you're going to have to pretty much be a slave. So going back to Judges 5 and 11, we were drawers of water here in Babylon, America. So we serve slavery here. So they that are delivered from the noise of the archers, which is prophesied for the thermonuclear missiles to come in and hit Babylon. So we're going to be delivered from that. Lord's will, we a part of that number in the places of drawing water where we serve slavery at. Okay, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. That's why you see us keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. You see men growing their beards out again. You see them on the highways and hedges. You see them prophesying the downfall of Esau, Edom. They're bringing out scriptures. They're doing the works. That's practice, because we understand that we understand that the Lord's coming, number one, because of the prophecies that we see going on, and we're getting closer to that time with the MOTB. So this is the time, and this is the place where we're going to be practicing the righteous acts, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. So we're going to not just practice any righteous acts. We're going to be practicing the righteous acts we practiced when we were in our own land. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates. So after all of that, we're going to go down into the gates. And the gates is symbolic of Deuteronomy 16 and Deuteronomy 16 and 18. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord Yahweh thy God giveth thee throughout thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. So your judges, your officers will be at the gates, and that's where judgment was executed. That's where people would ask for direction. That's where, counsel was held. So we're going to be going back into the form of authority, establishing the law, statutes, and commandments down here on the earth. Back to Isaiah 40. Contextually, Isaiah 40 is addressing Israel in captivity and weakness, reminding them not to lose faith. So this is why I'm just bringing this out, because, it's a beautiful precept to have. And, he always be wearing certain precepts, and it makes me wonder if he actually has some wisdom, has some knowledge. He might know he's Israel. Maybe he don't. Maybe he does. Who knows? Psalms 27 and 14, wait on the Lord. Lamentations 3:25, verse 26, the Lord is good to them that wait for him. In Micah 7 and 7, Israel waits for the God of salvation. Shall renew their strength. Renew means to exchange. Hebrew halap, meaning Israel trades human weakness for divine strength. Well, we don't trade it. The Lord's going to give you the strength to be divine. This shows spiritual empowerment, not physical comfort. The Lord gives strength to endure persecution and remain faithful. So, and that's going to happen in a multiple of ways, when, especially in these last days, when Esau is going to show his horns, being the devil, being the wicked, showing you he's an Edomite. So he's going to fully show you how wicked and capable of wickedness that he truly is, when he shows you he's actually gonna do all the things that we warned you about. When I say we, I mean the apostles and nettles on down from the great millstone. But we, through the doctrine, we saying the same thing. I'm seeing the same thing they see when I read the scriptures. So I believe the same thing. I believe the MOTB is the RFID microchip, and I understand that is right around the corner. So I'm not gonna waste my time looking at other people's doctrines and trying to it's clear as day. You just gotta look for it yourself. But a lot of people, you just ain't got the spirit, so you ain't gonna be able to discern. Isaiah 41 and 10, I will strengthen thee. 2 Corinthians 4 and 16, the inward man is renewed daily. Psalms 103 and 5, youth renewed like the eagles. Youth renewed like the eagles. Okay. Mount up with wings as eagles. Eagles fly above storms, not through them. Symbol of vision, endurance, and elevation. Israel will be raised above oppression, spiritually preserved until deliverance. Well, yeah, but it's ultimately talking about spiritual power. You know, you have spiritual power. Ain't no storm, no flood, no man, nobody's gonna be able to deal with you. So just like Esau's capability keeps him on a high level, now imagine all that capability inside of you. Okay, you connected to the Most High. So who gonna be able to deal with you then? And that's a spiritual body. So that's what we're talking about. You know, we understand he's a carnal man. You know, so you look at his carnal, his blessing is carnal at the end of the day. Now imagine the spiritual body. What that's gonna, the spirit is stronger than the carnal, and he's gonna witness that. He's gonna see it. We're gonna be able to reach levels no man has ever reached. Esau ain't even come close to what the Lord's gonna endow his men. Precepts, Exodus 19:4, Israel carried on eagle's wings. Let's talk about something completely different. That's the Lord delivering us out of Egypt. Deuteronomy 32:11, the Lord bears Israel as an eagle. In Revelation 12:14, the woman given wings to escape persecution. Now, these precepts don't really match up with this, but just because it says eagle, it shows you eagle can also mean a form of deliverance. Okay, so we're gonna mount up with wings as eagles. We're gonna be delivered from these bodies, number one, and then number two, you know, with the spiritual capabilities we're gonna have when we receive them is what's gonna keep us on a high level, much higher than the rest of these heathen. They shall run and not be weary represents active labor in truth, teaching, enduring trials. Despite exhaustion, the elect continue forward. This is endurance in ministry and suffering, not worldly success, but this is also spiritual power. So we're going to be able to run and not be weary. How else are you going to be able to run and not be weary? The Lord's going to give you power. So that power comes with, you're not going to have power like of this world or, you know, some type of external component that can help you go for longer distances. It's not going to be like that. The Spirit of the Lord is going to sustain you in all your endeavors. Precepts, Galatians 6:9, not weary in well-doing, run the race with patience. God gives power to the faint. You know, so it's basically talking about spiritual power. They shall run and not be weary. I read that. They shall walk and not faint. Same thing. Walk in daily conduct in the law and testimony. Even in long-term hardship and righteous, do not spiritually collapse. Shows consistency, not just moments of strength. Well, they shall walk and not faint. The reason why we're going to walk and not faint or run and not be weary or fly on eagle's wings is because we're going to have the law, statutes, and commandments written in our inward parts. So once we have that, that comes with never being able to sin again. That comes, so if you can't sin, you can't die. Okay, because sin is the wages. The wages of sin is death. So we ain't going to experience death anymore. That's going to be something the heathen experience, but we're going to be above the heathen. Okay, so let's keep going. Psalms 37, verse 23 through 24. Though he fall, he shall not be cast down. That's talking about a righteous man. Micah 4:5. We walk in the name of the Lord. That's right. 2 Edges 14, verse 13. The faithful walk through danger. Yeah, so the Lord's going to sustain us. He tells you in Isaiah 59 that he's going to lift up a standard against them when they come in like a flood. So that's another form of spiritual power. Okay, now, however he does that, we ain't going to be changed until we get on the chariot. Now, he can give you power, but at the same time, to have everlasting power, that don't come until after we get saved. So Isaiah 40:31 is a promise to Israel. So Israel, which are your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So, you know, having that with the understanding that this is a promise to Israel. Okay, this doesn't apply to everybody that decides to put a Bible verse across their nose. Okay, it don't apply to everybody. You can put it on your nose, but it might not apply to you. You got to be an Israelite, especially the faithful remnant that, though they are oppressed, scattered, and weak, the Lord will sustain, strengthen, and preserve them until final deliverance comes. And that's pretty much what it means. Let's keep going.
choked his personal chef. The woman says she was living in his denim home when he assaulted her over a pay dispute. She says it happened one day after the Patriots' pivotal Monday Night Football victory against the Giants. The charges against...
You mean the Jets? They just played the Jets. They didn't play the Giants. Read your prompt right, lady.
Digs are serious. Strangulation, assault, and battery. And it's shocking to fans.
It's serious? What the hell she do? Why you always talking shit about him? What does she do? Bring out all the facts or don't bring anything out at all.
We're now concerned for the Patriots' playoff push. Hello, I'm Courtney Cole.
Just completely ignore the bitch who's causing the accusations. Okay? And that's wicked. That's pretty much tale-bearing. You don't know any of the details, but your ass is up there spewing this throughout to everybody in the world. I thought he's innocent until proven guilty according to your own laws. Tale-bearer. Let's look up some precepts on that. Someone who spreads gossip, secrets, and slander, causing strife and wounds with their words, often revealing what should be kept secret, with Proverbs 18:8 calling their words as wounds, as Proverbs 20:19 warning not to associate with them because they reveal secrets. That's what she's doing. You know, even though she's just going to work, probably reading the teleprompter, but that's Esau doing this shit, man. He ain't go to court yet. This is all hearsay, but yet he's on CBS News Boston. The hell out of here, man. Probably didn't even do anything. Why would Jake get on this way up on a high ass level and go smack some stupid bitch that cooks? Fucking get the hell out of here, man. Over a couple dollars. But it could happen. I'm just saying. There's still laws that were put in place. I forgot where I was going with it. Talebearer and between 2 or 3 witnesses. Between 2 or 3 witnesses shall everything be established, KJV. Is there one in Deuteronomy? At Deuteronomy 19, verse 15. Only one witness shall not rise up against any person whatsoever for any sin or for any evil. In any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. But something like this, it's wicked because, first of all, how can I put it? It's like you're spreading gossip, man. And you don't even know if it's true. So you like putting yourself, I'm just trying to imagine it in ancient times. Imagine somebody going out telling the whole people, yeah, he did this, that, and third. You weren't there. You don't have any proof. You know, you don't have all the details. You ain't even telling the whole story. Yet you're blasting it all over the media. Like, that's just wrong for so many reasons. Let the case be, let the details, get some facts on the matter. Where was I? What other precepts? Matthew 18:16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 or more, or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. So there's a process that needs to be used before you accuse somebody of doing something. You want 2 or 3 witnesses. Now, that lady who's accusing him, she would need proof. Hence, but Esau's court system, you know, he might have to pay her just to take the easy way out and take an accusation, you know, and just take the charge because it's cheaper. So Esau's system's flawed, man. 2 Corinthians 13:1. This is the third time I am coming to you. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. Let's keep going
The
anyways.
BBC News team is taking a closer look at the court documents that detail those accusations and what this could mean for the Patriots season. We start tonight with Brandon Druitt, who joins us at Gillette Stadium.
You ain't the damn judge.
Learned the woman alleges that she and Stefon Diggs were having a growing dispute over pay and claims things grew physical one day in Diggs' home.
So that's just a police report, right? So she went to the police officers and spewed out whatever the hell she said, and now you out here in the cold, just spewing it out. Tired of these damn devils. Y'all need to be arrested. That's not what I'm looking for. I said that. I want everyone involved arrested. Fucking Edomite with a red head come up. They seek to cast him down from his excellency. It's always Jake in one of these situations, man. I'm tired of this shit. That's what you get. Tell Cardi B to cook you some food, man. She was cooking for Offset. Psalm 62:4. They only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Salah. So you gotta watch out for these Edomites, man. They're full of shit. That's what they want to do, man. They always want to put you through some type of humiliation ritual. You know, fucking full of shit. I'm telling you, these people are full of crap. Dude just playing football, and then you always some. If it ain't, I'm surprised she ain't called grape. That always works all the time. They only consult to cast him down from his excellency. The wicked conspire together, consult to bring down a righteous man from his position, dignity, or authority. Excellency points to the honor, standing, or blessing the Lord has given him. This reflects how enemies target those whom the Lord has lifted up. Right. And I want to see, you're not going to allow somebody to live in your house so you can beat them up. I doubt, even if you just do that shit don't make any sense. You're playing for the New England Patriots. It don't make no sense to do anything like that, man. Why the hell would he want to do that to some low level? You ain't nothing. You ain't nobody. They delight in lies. Their joy comes from deception and slander, not truth. Lies are a weapon used to undermine the righteous, especially when open attacks fail. And you could just tell, man. Then I was listening to this earlier, and they were saying how, people. I think his lawyers were trying to keep it on the hush. So who said it was okay to spew this all over the internet? Esau did. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. And why? Because he's probably, any form of distraction works in his favor. While you looking this shit up, a lot of people, they ain't thinking about the Lord. They're not. It's folly at the end of the day. All of this shit's folly. And then they said his court case is 2 days before he's supposed to go and play the next game. And it's just stupid shit, man. It's folly. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Salah, a pause to meditate on the seriousness of hidden wickedness and the patience required of the righteous. That's right, man. You got to think upon these things, man. But ultimately, man, we got to be on the Lord in these last days, man. It's good that, people are on teams and doing all of that, but, what are you doing for the Lord?
She worked and lived. Tonight, new details in the case against New England Patriots wide receiver Stefon Diggs. His personal chef coming forward with allegations of assault and formally pressing charges.
Come on, man. What's that? 14:6. I wonder if that's Isaiah 14:6. If he got Isaiah 14:6, that says a lot, man. I don't know if I can't see the other side. Isaiah 14:6. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and unhindered. If you on a football field wearing shit like this, man, you watching Israelite videos, man. 100%.
According to court documents, the woman told police Diggs entered the bedroom she stayed in at his Dedham home in early December, part of an ongoing disagreement over her pay. The woman claims Diggs smacked her across the face, choked her from behind using his elbow.
2 Timothy 4, verse 17. I mean, I know, I really don't care what's going on with Diggs, man. He's chilling. Okay, I'm looking up these precepts he got. I'm curious to know. 2 Timothy 4, verse 17, notwithstanding the Lord stood with me and strengthened me, that by me the preaching might be fully known, and that all the Gentiles might hear, and I was delivered out of the mouth of the lion. So let me see that. If you're using these precepts for motivation to play football, do you think that's where your strengths come from? Ultimately, yes, the Lord gives you strength to whatever to prosper in anything that you do. That's what it is, right? 2 Timothy 4, verse 17. Yeah, I'm going to look this up. 2 Timothy 4, verse 17. Notwithstanding the Lord stood with me, Paul says, men forsook him, but the Lord did not. This shows Hamashiach supports his servants, especially when they are isolated, similar to how the prophets of old stood alone against nations. So, it's like, what's your, are you standing up? Are you preaching the gospel somewhere? You in the locker room telling people that Esau's going to be destroyed and this whole NFL shit's going to crash, going to be destroyed too? Who knows? Maybe he is. Psalms 118:6. The Lord is on my side. Isaiah 41:10. I am with thee. Matthew 28:20. Hamashiach with his servants always. And how do you serve the Lord? Are you being obedient? You ain't like you got a beard on your face. You were sleeping with Cardi B when she was still married. That's sin. But that's how Jake is, man. Jake be fucking putting scriptures on his face, and then he's sliding into your wife, or before practice. Okay, and strengthen me. Strength here is spiritual boldness, not physical escape. The Lord empowered Paul to speak without fear, even before rulers. This mirrors the promise in Luke 21:15. So, you speaking without fear, or you just picking up a ball and running and strengthening up a team on the sideline, trying to get some stupid ass trophy for what? All this shit's about to be destroyed. So all this, you practicing for the wrong things. But the Lord has his men where he has them in this time for whatever purpose they're gonna. If your purpose was just to catch a ball from Drake May, you just had a life full of vanity. All right, and that all the Gentiles might hear. The message was heard by Gentile nations, especially rulers. This does not mean salvation for all Gentiles, but witness and exposure. Israel is still the root, and Gentiles are grafted in, Romans 11. Now, you got to be careful when you say the word Gentile, because the Gentiles that are grafted in are Israelites. Okay, and you got to have understanding of that. Right now, we're Gentiles too. We call ourselves American now. We call ourselves Black, Latino, Native American. When you say shit like that, it's because you're a Gentile. You don't know that you're Israel until the Spirit reveals it to you. And then once the Spirit reveals it to you, man, that's pretty much half of the battle. Then you got to search the rest. See, if all these things are true, what else? Damn, I didn't even know who the hell I was. That's probably, that opens the door right there. Damn, what else don't I know? Damn, if that can't be the name of the Lord. If someone's willing to lie to me this long about who I am and lie to my whole nation this whole time, that's an enemy. That's not a friend. That's not somebody that cares about your well-being. No, he wants you to perform okay, to distract, because the real battle is this word going out. He don't want you to know this word. As long as you putting it on your face and you're amping up your team, then you already off the battlefield. You pretty much you're inactive in what's really going on in this world. Precepts, Romans 1 verse 16, gospel to Jew first and Gentile. Yeah, he tells you not to go into the land of the Samaritans, but the Gentiles were other Israelites. You got to know about the Hellenization period in the book of Maccabees, which is in the Apocrypha, to understand who Paul was going to speak to. Okay, this information is all over the internet, but not everyone can receive it. Not everyone gets it. Acts 13 verse 46, turn to Gentiles after Israel rejected. You gotta understand the history of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom too. Okay, after the fall of King Solomon and King David, if you don't understand the history of Israel, then you're gonna be lost like the rest of the world, thinking salvation is for them, which is a foolish thought. Isaiah 49:6, light to the Gentiles. Delivered out of the mouth of the lion, symbolic language, Roman authority, Nero. Death sentence at that moment, Satan working through the system. Not literal lions, but imminent destruction. Paul was delivered temporarily, not spared from eventual martyrdom. Delivered out of the mouth of the lion. Esau is known as a young lion too in the scriptures. It tells you in 1 Peter 2 verse 8. No. 2 Peter 1 verse 8. No. I forgot. I know it's verse 8. 2 Peter. I forgot where it's at. Where it says, like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Let's just type in roaring lion. 1 Peter 5 verse 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. So that's Esau ultimately, but it's a spiritual demon, Satan, which controls the physical adversary, which is Esau. Okay, he's the son of the wicked. All right, Proverbs 28:5, as a roaring lion and as a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people, and that's Esau. Just wants to devour you. And how does he devour you? With his laws, his military, his teeth. It's all to oppress you. Isaiah chapter 10, verse 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. Okay, so we're not relying on Esau anymore. You got a remnant of Israel. Not everyone's gonna stop relying on Esau. No, we're gonna trust in what the Lord said, what he's gonna do for us. A remnant will return. Not everybody. I'm done with 2 Timothy 4 verse 17. Overall meaning shows that even when all men abandon you, the Lord stands with his elect. So there's 144,000, 12,000 men. And then there's the remnant, there's the large multitude, the purpose. And not everyone's making part of that number. The purpose of deliverance is not comfort, but to fulfill preaching. Paul's life proves that the gospel advances through suffering not ease. And that's 100% true. Paul's a great example of suffering for the gospel's sake. He did the most. He didn't do the most. Yahushua did the most, but he was a close second, man. He went hard for the Lord. In his gospel, it's still his affliction, his work, as it preceded him. Because now we got that, and we seeing Paul's works, his writings deep. He didn't go through that, man. We want to have this understanding. He's a big part of why we know the things we know today. The book of Hebrews, book of Corinthians. There's a lot of meat in those, and what he's given us, that the Lord revealed to him. All right, let me keep going.
Then threw her on the bed and recalled feeling she could have blacked out and having redness in her upper chest. But she told authorities she did not have photos of those injuries.
And it's going to become more of a he said, she said situation.
Oh, why are you reporting it then? Ultimately, I know they want money and views and shit, but this is a man's life you dealing with. That's why Esau don't even, someone like this, he should be able to sue your ass, honestly, for defamation of character.
Legal analyst Jennifer Roman on the challenges this case might face going forward, pointing out the alleged incident occurred on December 2nd, but the woman didn't report it to police for 2 weeks and decided to press charges a week later.
Come on, man, that shit don't even sound right.
For cases with a power dynamic like this, but Roman expects it will be addressed in court.
That delay is going to be really problematic for the prosecution. I mean, to the extent that the alleged victim did incur injuries, there are 2 weeks of healing that would have gone on.
The chef says after the incident, Diggs wanted her to sign a non-disclosure agreement before collecting her final check, but she refused.
Of course she refused, man. Get the fuck out of here, man. It just sounds sketchy as hell, man. Here it is. You hire a woman to do a job, and if there's an issue, and you bring it up, and then it just gets out of hand all of a sudden. There's no way you could have talked about it. It's just, come on, man. That shit just don't make any sense, man. But, I ain't trying to fight for the brother, You're gonna deal with this, man. You an Israelite, you gonna go through afflictions. No matter how high, how low, these curses gonna follow you wherever you go. They're gonna try to tarnish your name. It just is what it is. Even people from your own nation. But at the end of the day, you gotta suffer all these things, and you make sure you're doing it, you gotta suffer for righteousness' sake too at the same time. Whatever your portion is, man, you gotta fulfill that lot. We didn't come down here to throw a ball for Esau, man. Let him get all this money and then you kick the bucket. Get a head injury or something like that, man. Listen, it ain't about that. All of this shit about to end, man. You don't see what's going on. I got some other articles I ain't even get into yet. I'm just thinking, keeping my mind focused on what really matters. I don't want to be lost out here fucking celebrity bitches and thinking I'm somebody in this world. That shit don't mean shit. All right? Let's keep going.
Diggs flat out denies the allegations. His attorney writing they are unsubstantiated, uncorroborated, and were never investigated because they did not occur, adding they are the result of an employee-employer financial dispute that was not resolved to the employee's satisfaction. Stefon looks forward to establishing the truth in the court of law. The New England Patriots backing their star, writing Stefon has informed the organization that he categorically denies the allegations. We support Stefon. So Diggs is facing two charges here, one for assault and a felony charge for strangulation. He will appear in court for the first time in this case on
a felony charge for strangulation, and she reported it 2 weeks later. Get the fuck out of here. It's full of shit.
January 23rd. In Foxborough, Brandon Drew at WBZ News.
Go fuck yourself, Brandon. You're going into slavery. Protests erupt if you're not an Israelite. Protests erupt across Iran as currency sinks to record low. Woo! Iran.
Iran's capital city as the
Hold on.
protesters have taken to the streets of Iran's capital city as the country faces some of its worst economic pressures in years. The value of Iran's currency sunk to a record low over the weekend, and inflation has surged.
Over the weekend. Whoo! This shit gonna happen to us too.
And inflation has surged to an annual rate of about 42%. These are some of the largest protests in Iran since 2022, when demonstrations broke out over the death of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman who died in police custody. Iranian journalist and women's rights activist Masih Alinejad joins us now. Thank you so much for being here. What has the current economic situation meant for the people of Iran?
First of all, I have to say that this is not an isolated economic protest. The main trigger was actually the collapse of the Iranian currency, the money. But at the same time, we keep hearing from protesters in the streets that the slogans go actually beyond economic crisis. They are chanting against the whole regime, entire regime.
See, you're gonna be chanting against this regime too when this dollar's collapsing too. I just want to see something real quick. How much is $1 of Iranian money compared to the American dollar? As of late December 2025, one USD is roughly equal to 42,000 Iranian rials. Woo! $1 US is roughly equal to 42,000 Iranian rials. I saw a video. This dude, he got stacks of money. He brings it to, I think he brought it to exchange it, and the dude gave him a $100 bill. So he probably had hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they gave him a $100 US bill at official rates, but on the open black market, it's significantly less valuable, with rates fluctuating wildly, sometimes near 1.4 million rials or even higher due to Iran's economic conditions and sanctions. The official rate of 42,000 IRR per USD has been stable, while the real world rate shows extreme devaluation, making the rial worth a tiny fraction of a cent. Damn. So what does that show you, man? We getting to that point. We getting to that point, man. You know, there's plenty of scriptures about economic collapse, plenty of scriptures about, inflation. I'm gonna grab this in Revelation 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So when you look at that word penny, it goes into a denarian. And what that's saying is a whole day's pay to get some bread. Okay? A denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages in Roman time. So imagine that, a whole day's pay. That's inflation. To buy some bread, if $1's 42,000 of their money, imagine if they had to pay $3 US. So you're gonna pay, what's that, $126,000. That's not a full day's pay, but that's a couple of years' pay. You know? But that's how ugly it's gonna get out here.
Because the situation in Iran right now is miserable. Middle class crushed. Working class, they're even not able to buy bread. I mean, they're really suffering from.
Oh, that's the spirit, man. They're not able to buy bread. And this is gonna be happening over here. They going, when your money crashes, when he crashes the economy, and he tells you to go take his MOTB this is the type of climate that you're gonna be in. You're gonna be out here walking on the highway like the rest of the people, being an idiot. But the men who got this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, they're gonna know it's getting closer to that time. They're gonna be trusting in the Lord, because they're watching for things like this and seeing how people are reacting in these times. They're not waiting for a movie to, no, they're watching. This is the type of things you should be watching, type of things you should be looking and paying attention to, because that's going to be happening here. And the scriptures tell you, follow not a multitude to do evil. Ultimately, a lot of these people are heathens, so they don't know what the hell's going on. Okay, but you know, even 2/3 of Israel, they consider heathen too, because they don't acknowledge what's written in the book. Exodus 23:1. Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Woo, man. That's what they were doing with Steph Diggs, man, raising up false reports. Exodus 23:2, thou shalt, and that's a lot of the media, a lot of this propaganda, man, that shit's wicked. That's how they push their tongue walketh throughout the earth, man. They be telling lies throughout all the earth, man, through this propaganda machine. Exodus 23:2, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many of the rest judgments. So you'll be following a multitude to do evil by going against what the Lord told you to do. He didn't tell you to go follow the heathen and go against the government and complain. Oh, we need jobs, we need money, we need this, we need help. Nah, man. The scriptures talk about waiting upon the Lord. You're gonna need faith in these last days. This don't look like people are trusting in their government, so their emotion is dependent on their economy. But we know, according to Isaiah the 13th chapter, that the Lord's going to make a man more precious than fine gold, because a man who's stable in this time, ain't going to be nothing better than that. A lot of these people right here, the government's going to, a lot of them going to get shot, especially here, you know, and on top of that, a lot of them are not going to be stable in these last days. They're going to do crazy shit and get themselves killed.
Poverty, and there are a small group of people, the officials, the members of Revolutionary Guards, the relative of the government. They are the one, they are the one controlling oil tankers, oil terminals, massive economic empires, and that's why people in Iran, they are suffering because of mismanagement, decades of mismanagement and corruption.
How is the government responding, and where do you see this going?
Now it's spreading, it's not only in Tehran, it is across Iran. People are joining the protests. Students today and women join the protests. So the response from the government, it's obvious. They're using tear gas and violence. Even President Trump yesterday mentioned that as soon as the world hear about people of Iran taking to the streets, they hear about the regime opening fire on them and arresting the protesters. Yes, that's true. But at the same time,
they're gonna do it. Duck's gonna do it to you too. What do you think he gonna do when that happens? He already showed you what he did with those protesters in 2020 with the I forgot the name of the group, Antifa, I think they was called. Antifa. You don't really hear about them anymore. I think he labeled them terrorists now, but they were going to the, oh, well, you still hear about them against the ICE agents and stuff, but what was he doing? He was popping them in the head with rubber bullets in Portland, busting their shit wide open. Two protesters got put to death by a little white boy with that was part of a militia. Dude was young as hell. Little young Edomite, man, bringing a sword out, killed 2 people, you know. So there's a lot of Edomites that they just want to wipe you out anyways. They love blood, man. You know, That's what when they go hunt animals, they already look at you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans as not enemies too, but beasts. That's how they look at you. That's why they be like, hey, buddy, bud, hi, bud. The fuck out of here. Can't wait to show you your bud when we kick your ass. And that time's almost coming, man. So we supposed to be rejoicing when things like this. When I see things like this is a beautiful sight. And when it starts to happen here, we know we getting closer to that time where we gonna beat Buddy's ass. We gonna get the Buddy real soon.
See different ways that people, different exchange between people, the protesters, and the security forces. Like one of the very touching and moving scene when one of the protesters actually said to one of the security force that your salary is worthless. Then why are you shooting us? And
right, your salary is worthless, and you shooting at people because these people are dumb. You know. They're in gross darkness. Okay, the people who are the whole situation. That's why you need to have wisdom. Okay, you have to move with wisdom in these last days, man, because you'll get caught up in some stupid shit that the Lord told you not to do. That's why you got to meditate on these precepts.
they are chanting and calling the security forces to join them. So far, we don't see any of the members of security forces or the police or the army joining to the protesters, and that's why protesters are furious.
Do you think they're gonna? Who do you think the police and the military gonna join the protesters? They ain't there for you. They're thinking shit. They trust in the system. They're slaves to the system. Okay, there's gonna be some that defect over. That's why that's gonna add to the chaos. But majority of them, they ain't gonna know until it's too late. They ain't gonna know until they go hide in the bunkers and they leave you no bullets. You're gonna run out of bullets. And then next thing you know, you food for the party, because the majority of the people, you don't outnumber the citizens. So eventually you're gonna run out. You're gonna run out of resources, because then the elites are gonna leave your ass to the slaughter. Okay.
Because we see that pictures, people opening their arms, walking towards security forces and saying that we have nothing to lose. We are fed up. People saying that shoots in my heart, but I'm not going back home. So people,
just like in Genesis, the 47th chapter, when Joseph pretty much sold. No, it's not 47, is it? Yeah, results of the famine. This is how Joseph was able to bring all the wealth to Pharaoh. Okay, so through the famine. And that's what Esau's gonna do. He's gonna try to run this same play in Genesis, the 47th chapter. But if you lack knowledge, you're not gonna understand where it's gonna fail. So this is why you got to keep your faith. The Lord already gave us the victory. But you understand the mindset of this devil. Genesis 47:20, and Joseph brought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh. So the famine's going to prevail over you too. He's already taken away your jobs. He's going to give you the universal basic income, but then he's going to have you take this chip, and you might be able to resist for some time, but majority of you are gonna take it willingly. Then there's gonna be some of you, it's gonna take some time, and then it's only gonna be the remnant, the elect, who are just gonna fully not trust in this devil, because that's the only ones who are gonna be saved. Genesis 47:21, and as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands. Then Joseph said unto the people, Behold, I have brought you this day, and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that ye shall give the 5th part unto Pharaoh, which is 20%, and 4 parts shall be your own for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your households, and for food for your little ones. And they said, Thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day that Pharaoh should have the 5th part, except the land of the priests only, which became not Pharaoh's. And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. So the Lord was able to protect Israel during the famine by setting up Joseph in a high position. And the Lord got men in this time going to be in certain positions that are going to help his elect, or however the Lord does it. You know, we're going to, it says the just shall live by faith. So we know the Lord got something for us. You know, especially the men who, they're not condemned in their minds with the sins. You know, they're constantly in the work, so they're gonna have less of a denial. I'm sure we're all gonna be tempted to the point where, you know, your faith is gonna be tested. You know, you're gonna have those same thoughts, just like like all of our forefathers, Abraham with Isaac, John the Baptist when he was locked up. You know, just to name a few. Job. But they endured, and what happened? They were recompensed. Genesis 47:28, and Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, so the whole age of Jacob was 147 years. It's like did I miss what I was looking for? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So they pretty much sold. Actually, I should have started up more. But they pretty much sold all. I should have started up more. Genesis 47 and 14. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So he's going to collapse the money, consolidate it, take it all. And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence, for the money faileth? And that's why she was saying, they were holding hands, saying, we're not going back home. You know, it's like pretty much just kill us here because we don't got nothing at the house. What's the point of going home for? To die in my living room? And Joseph said, Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. And that's why you're going to give everything you got. And ultimately, you're going to give yourself. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, We will not hide it from my lord, how that our money is spent. My lord also have our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my lord, but our bodies and our land. So that's the same position you're going to be put in these last days. Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. So you'll be okay when your ass is being afflicted to go take that MOTB. And that's what's going to happen. And it says everybody's going to take it. So even Iran's they all going to take the chip.
Their arms, walking towards security forces and saying that we have nothing to lose. We are fed up. people saying that shoots in my heart, but I'm not going back home. So people are exhausted. Even graduates with university degrees, they are struggling from like not being able to find a job or having a normal life. This is the situation right now in Iran. People are angry and furious with the mismanagement and corruption of this regime. The same regime that's sending money to Hamas, Hezbollah, for regional war, the same regime that creating 51 religious institutions right now, claiming that they are suffering from sanctions, but at the same time, they're funding their proxies, they're funding religious institutions, they're funding revolutionary guards to oppress people, to suppress any kind of peaceful uprising.
Well, we appreciate your time and expertise on this subject, Masih Ali-Nejad. Thank you.
That's the Persians, man. And guess what? Insert different who he's sending money to. Zelensky, not a Jew, over here, over there, everywhere. Argentina. You know, so same thing. Jobs, where the jobs at? He's saying the jobs are increasing, but okay. Then why are they losing jobs every left and right? Why? And automation's coming in, so this is going to increase. Saudi Arabia bombs Yemen, warns ally UAE of red line vantage. So I want to hear about that. Another war kicking off. Proxy war in Yemen.
Let's turn to West Asia now, where a proxy war is unfolding in Yemen. On one side is Saudi Arabia, on the other side is the UAE. Two close allies now at odds. We have seen open threats, we have seen airstrikes. The question is, will there be a full-blown confrontation? Let me tell you what happened today. This morning, Saudi military attacked a port in Yemen. It is called Mukalla in the south. Look at the aftermath.
Damn, he attacked straight the military. That's military equipment.
Why did Riyadh bomb the port? They say Mukalla was receiving weapon shipments from the UAE. Two ships had allegedly brought arms to Yemen, so Riyadh decided to blow them up. But that wasn't even the most explosive move. That would come a few hours later. Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry released a sharp statement. They named and accused the UAE of hurting Saudi interests. And we'll come to that in a bit. But first, let me give you some background. Yemen is basically a country split into two. The north is controlled by the Houthis. It's a rebel group supported by Iran. The south is ruled by the internationally recognized government. But this government is also a divided one. It has a presidential council, which is supported by Saudi Arabia. It also has a Southern Transition Council, or STC. And this is backed by the UAE. Now, technically, these two factions are rivals. They united with the sole purpose of fighting the Houthis. From 2015, Saudi Arabia and the UAE have been fighting this war. And their own soldiers were deployed in Yemen. But in 2019, the UAE began pulling out. On paper, they still support the southern regime, though recently, things have heated up. Earlier this month, the UAE-backed forces launched a surprise offensive. They now control virtually all of southern Yemen. What followed were massive celebrations on the streets. Take a look. So what's the end goal here? Why is the UAE-backed STC fighting the regime? Well, they want a new country now, a country called South Yemen. And the demand itself is not new. South Yemen was a country from 1967 to 1990. It was the only communist country in the Arab world. It was reunified after the Cold War. And now the STC says, let's go back to the old days. But the Saudi-backed regime is opposing this plan. They have cancelled a security agreement with the UAE. They've also given Abu Dhabi a deadline. Leave southern Yemen in 24 hours.
Unfortunately, it has been definitively confirmed that the United Arab Emirates has exerted pressure on and directed the Southern Transitional Council to undermine state authority and rebel against it through military escalation, attacks on armed forces positions, repeated assaults on the tribes of Hadramaut and innocent civilians.
Riyadh was seeing all of this unfold. Last week, they launched strikes on STC positions, and today they hit alleged UAE shipments. And then came Saudi Arabia's statement. The steps taken by the UAE are considered highly dangerous and do not serve the purpose of achieving security and stability for Yemen. In this context, the kingdom stresses that any threat to its national security is a red line, and the kingdom will not hesitate to take all necessary steps and measures to confront and neutralize any such threat. Those are very strong words, especially when it's aimed at an ally. Saudi Arabia is accusing the UAE of threatening its security. And what does the UAE say? Well, they have basically denied all of it. They have denied supporting the STC offensive. They have denied selling arms to Mukalla. They have also denied hurting Saudi interests. Plus, the UAE is reminding Riyadh of its own sacrifices in Yemen. It is asking for more coordination and wisdom. And that sums up the events of today. We had strikes, we had statements, and we had counter-statements. The question is, what comes next? Well, the UAE is offering a concession. They have agreed to withdraw all remaining forces from Yemen. But will that be enough? I ask because Saudi Arabia has legitimate concerns in Yemen. Their border is more than 1,300 kilometers long. A Houthi-run Yemen is bad news for the Saudis. And we saw that in 2019 and again in 2022. The Houthis launched attacks on Saudi oil facilities. So stability in Yemen is non-negotiable for Riyadh. Like they said, it's a red line. But for the UAE, the concerns are different. They wanted a reliable ally in Yemen, someone who could protect Yemen's oil resources and sea lanes. And frankly, it looks like they got one. So the future is hard to predict right now. Saudi Arabia has the more pressing goal, but the UAE has the edge. Let's see how this proxy battle unfolds.
Wonderful.
She's good, man. She's good. Another war. I mean, that's more proxy bullshit, but hey, this is something else. We'll see if he's gonna go over there too. You know, let me grab this in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 9th chapter. That's all it is, man. A lot of crazy shit going on in the world, and if you ain't prepared, you're gonna get caught up in some bull crap. Why isn't the 1611 working? Oh, it is working. 2nd Esdras 9:1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So you measure the time by understanding what the prophecies are, and what we're seeing today at least is that there's more wars, rumors of wars, like it says in Matthew the 24th chapter. Okay. But the end is not yet, because we understand that the MOTB needs to be established. Okay, so even though there's more wars, more different battlefronts, more division between, you know, Iran's dollar collapsing, people going into the streets, so that more that's happening, the more that's going to happen, and other economies are going to crash. But all economies are going to crash, and then they're going to bring in this digital infrastructure. And that right there is probably the most biggest event, you know, and it's not going to take, you know, just like when the vid came, that would seem like it changed your whole world overnight. So we measuring the time diligently, because we know at any moment any of this can come to pass. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, we just saw an uproar of the people in the world in Tehran, getting up in the streets, protesting. There's always earthquakes. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So we understand that the Lord, these, when you read the book of Ezra, he's having this dialogue with an angel, and the angel is telling him pretty much all the questions that you would ask if you were in his position. When are you gonna come? Who's gonna help me out when he's seen the vision? He saw Yahweh Shai destroying these nations. So he's seen pretty much everything that the prophet seen, but he elaborates on it more. He talks about the MLTB in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. He calls it things offered unto idols. He's talking about the FEMA camps. Okay, so all these things we're supposed to be looking for. We see it coming down the pike. This day is coming. It's not a joke. It's not a game. I'm not a comedian. Okay, I'm not getting paid and to spew out lies and go on YouTube so it can be fun or whatever the hell people make. I don't know why other people make videos. I don't make them for that reason. Okay, if it's gonna help a brother out, hey, then let it help you out, man. But you should look it up for yourself. I already practicing how to stay in the spirit. That's the most important thing you could be doing in this time, is being diligent and watching like the Lord told us to do. Now, the reward, it might not seem like much, because, you think of someone who's carnal, he's probably storing up food in a bunker somewhere. He's buying guns and bullets. He's buying silver and gold because they're carnal. None of that shit's gonna sustain you, man. Okay? I'm fully reliant on what the Lord promised. That's it. Because I don't see even the money. You think Esau is giving you real gold, real silver? You're a damn fool. You deserve. You're a Vic. Okay, he don't do nothing but steal, kill, and destroy. I wouldn't trust it unless I mind it myself. I don't trust this dude. I just saw somebody yesterday. He was giving people. He said, "Do you want $100 bill or do you want these earrings?" And he was going up to these black chicks, and the girls were like, "I'll take the earrings." And then she's like, "Oh, but put the diamond tester on it." So he's hitting it with the diamond tester. The diamond tester's going off. The shit's sparkling in front of you. But he said, in all actuality, those are less than this $100 bill, even though it passes the metal detector, or whatever the hell, the diamond detector. So there you go. You over here spending your hard-earned cash, and he's hitting you with alloys. You buying some cheap-ass alloy that he created. Real silver, real gold, man. Come on, man. You think he gonna sell that shit to you? Hell out of here. You're an idiot. 2nd Esdras 9, verse 4. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, meaning it's evident that we're at that time. Okay? When you're seeing uproars of the people, when you're seeing the RFID microchip being implemented, things that he told you from the beginning. Okay? Going back to Jacob's trouble, Isaiah 33:6, or Jeremiah 30 and, let me go there. Is it Jeremiah? I think it's Jeremiah. Let me grab it. Jeremiah 30:6. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. So people are going to be afraid. Okay, like a woman who's a man that's pregnant, imagine that kind of pain that would be, it's painful for a woman, how much more for a man? Jeremiah 30 verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So the elect are going to be saved out of it. The elect of Israel. 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 6. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed. So he didn't say nothing about money, by your works and by your faith. So it's important that you work, because if the Lord told you to do it, it's going to benefit you. So by you working, a lot of people are going to be condemned in their mind because they ain't put in the work. You know, they're going to think, Lord ain't dealing with me. You know, I was just a slothful servant. You know, I think, you're going to be condemned in your mind. You want to have done everything that you could have done while you had liberty, because you know you valued your faith. You put a high value on your faith, and you nourished it, you know, and you didn't just take it for granted. You didn't just hear this word and think, you didn't see the value in it, in knowing who you were in these last days. You didn't see the importance of it. You didn't read. You never made that connection with the Most High, whereby ye have believed. So a lot of y'all don't believe. Okay, 2nd Ezra 9 verse 8. Shall be preserved from the said perils. Okay, so that's how you're going to be preserved from the said perils, from Jacob's trouble. And shall see my salvation by your works, by your faith, whereby ye have believed. That's how you're going to see my salvation in my land, which is Israel, and within my borders. For I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. So he's talking about the elect. They were sanctified to have that type of faith. They were sanctified to receive that type of faith, to have that type of understanding, to make it, to endure the afflictions that the Lord's going to put upon ultimately the whole world. Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. So you're going to be a pitiful case because you abused his ways. Okay, you didn't take this word seriously. You didn't want to repent. Some of y'all even scoffed at the word, mocked. So you're going to dwell in torments. For such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me. So you receive benefits every single day. He gives you strength to wake up. He allows you to go to work, get a check, eat, feed yourself, keep a roof over your head. Not everyone got a roof over their head, but he definitely fed you and clothed you if he was dealing with you. You know, kept you in good health. So you even have a chance to make it through Jacob's trouble. 2nd Ezra 9 and 11. And they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty, and when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it. So you didn't understand what this was all about. You didn't understand what this word was for. You thought this was a hangout. You thought this was to be cool. I don't know what the hell you thought this was, man. No, this is how you suffer. Okay? Not being comfortable. This is you're supposed to learn how to suffer with a smile on your face. Okay? Being cheerful, glorifying the Lord through all your afflictions that he's putting you through. Not to forsake him. That's what it's all about. Just like Job. Read the last chapter of Job. Get the moral of the story. He's a reflection of what the elect are going to be in these last days. 2nd Ezra 9 verse 12, the same must know it after death by pain. So a lot of y'all got to die because you ain't going to learn. You ain't going to be ready for the battle. Okay, the trumpet, the warning's been going out consistently. And, you know, not everyone's they're not gonna get ready for the battle. You know, and they ain't gonna have their armor on. They're not gonna be girt about with truth. They're not gonna be filled with the word. They're gonna run out of oil. They're gonna give up. They're gonna faint. They're gonna fail. And I'm gonna end it with that.